Hey guys, welcome back to an episode of the Corner Flag Talk podcast. It's your boy John, and we are unfortunately entering, well, I guess fortunately, the last international break until March is the last break that we're going to have. But as always, we are here to discuss the latest in football with you guys. So please share with somebody, like it, give somebody a pod, tell them, if they want to learn a thing or two. Send them to Corner Flag Talk. What are you sending Sky Sports for? And to do that with me, I have Virgil. Virgil's again, my guy.
Yeah, it's good. Delighted after this week.
Yeah, obviously you delighted. Then we have Brandon. Brandon was again my guy.
Well, I'm not delighted. I'm lighted because, as you can see, all this light coming through my window with all the sun and thing here.
Yeah, guys, it's our early evening recorded. And let me get a quick round of applause for Dominic making his debut. Dominic, welcome to the show.
Yay!
Welcome to the show. Was it good, Dominic? Pleasure
Thanks
to have you here.
Thanks. First episode on. I'm looking forward to chatting some football with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I wish it was probably after a better weekend to bring a real fan on, but we'll get into all that as we have a very packed show for you guys. A quick housekeeping is I'm not gonna tell you all who as yet, but we have a very, very, very special episode coming up for you guys next week. It's something that myself and Brandon will be on, and the truth is I can't contain how excited I am, but I will not tell you all who is gonna be with yet. Y'all will see when I come on next week Monday, and I promise y'all will enjoy it. And so please be on the look for that. Turn on your bells, turn on your notifications, because it'll be a really good one to look out for. And so we're gonna get straight into it for this weekend, guys. So we can't start anywhere else other than Manchester City versus Liverpool. And this was the first time since 2009 that that the top four all played each other. And to be fair, both games had a lot to talk about. And we can't start anywhere else than City really demolishing Liverpool 3-0. And last week I told Brandon, this was a real big week for Liverpool in terms of where this season sat. And I do think that there are some conclusions we can draw coming out of it. But I can't start anywhere else other than the citizen himself, Virgil. Virgil, obviously you enjoyed this. I know that you are somebody that also shares my feelings for Liverpool. What did you feel going into this game and how it developed? What did you take away from it?
Well, yeah, definitely starting going into the game. I feel like it's been a long time going into a match between Liverpool where you're feeling like the favorites, because we know when it comes to Liverpool City, Liverpool always find this extra gear to, whether the game might end in a draw, to be able to go toe-to-toe with us. But honestly, I felt like the pressure was on Liverpool, just with how recent weeks went. And don't get me wrong, Liverpool going into this game, they were riding a high after the performance against Villa and then midweek. So you felt a little uneasy. But then after from the game and from everything progressed, within 5 minutes, the football was there, intensity was there, and I felt like we were really playing our football. Like that's one thing I was so glad to see, that we went to this game. We stuck to what we've been playing for the past couple of weeks. And honestly, the whole tactics from minute one just worked. And you could see what Pep was trying to do, and you could see the whole, everything, the different tactics that Pep is trying to employ now. And honestly, as I say, 3-0, and especially that clean sheet, I feel like that's a statement win.
Clean sheet, boy. Sound like me, boy. So why don't we just get into the controversial stuff first before we get into the game itself? So there were two big calls on the day. One was a penalty awarded to Doku, and another one was a disallowed goal for Virgil van Dijk. And so I'm gonna just start with Brandon. There's the two incidents. If you could just give me a weightage that you think about them, if you thought they were the correct calls, both of them, and the whole panel could kind of have their say where they sit on both instances.
Yeah,
So
the more controversial one I think was the offside one with Robertson. I don't know whether it was the correct decision or not, but what I could tell you for sure is that Chelsea had a situation like that earlier in the season against Brentford, and they didn't give it. So I mean, as we kind of confused sometimes with what they think is the correct decision, because we really need to start to identify what are the actual parameters for some of these calls, because I personally don't believe that Robertson would have impacted whether Donnarumma got to the ball or not. I did see a video today that he was pushing him right before the ball was headed
yeah.
by Van Dijk, So I'm not sure like where the line is, if I'm being honest with you. The Doku one, I think though was a lot more simpler. I think that's a penalty all day because whether he pulls out of the challenge or not, he just catch him twice. And I
Twice,
think
yeah.
like twice the second time I think was the more unforgivable one. So for me, I didn't really think I didn't the Robertson one is difficult. The penalty is fine to me, but I think the overall point there is that I don't think either of those decisions really would have changed the game in any type of way, in my opinion.
Yeah. Dominic.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Brandon with what he's saying in terms of especially the offside calls, and I feel like it's not just with offside, it's with handball too, right? So some of these rules are so subjective is probably the word I want to use. Because some referees would say one thing is a handball, but then another referee would say, well, no, that's never a handball. So
Yeah.
we kind of need to figure out, like, okay, what could we make it black and white? Could we make it where there's no gray area at all? Because these things affect games all the time, and with the offsides and thing as well, like you look at this semi-automatic offside and how close some of these semi-automatic offsides actually are, and you have to wonder, is an attacker really gaining an advantage from such a minute space between him and the defender? So if it's not gaining an advantage, then is he really offside? And I think perhaps that's what this new offside rule that they were looking to implement probably from next season or whenever it is they're looking to do it. I think that's what that might solve, but yeah, too many gray areas in some of the rules we have now.
Mm-hmm. Virgil.
Yeah, honestly, from keeping it unbiased.
All right. All right. All right. All right. All right.
Actually,
All
I
right.
would keep,
All
I
right.
would, I
All
would
right.
keep it
All right.
unbiased. No,
Yeah,
honestly,
don't do it in my head,
from
though.
the penalty one, just like as Brandon said, I feel like that one was the easiest one to call. But honestly, from the disallowed goal, you could see the justification where the referees and then what they're saying. But if you look at it in real time, we could say a lot is going on, but I feel like that is honestly an easy cop out for the goalkeeper because realistically, they'll say that Hall Robinson was interfere with play. Yes, but also it really was not that big of an interference for me because again, there are many explanations about any slight movement could throw off a keeper. We see and all that, but honestly, we talk about keepers at high levels. I feel like it's not to say that interference changed the trajectory of the ball, changed the trajectory of where he was looking to dive in the first place. It really was a weak
Yeah.
dive. It really was a weak dive from the keeper. So I feel
Yeah.
like to really disallow that because we saw the pace from that wonderful delivery from Salah and that header from Van Dijk, everything was amazing from that. So
Yeah.
rightfully so, with all Robertson being there, keeper was beat for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, where I stand is I agree with all of y'all. I do think it definitely was a penalty. And it was because, like, either way, even if the first touch was so slight, I think the knee taking Doku's foot just kind of compounded it. However, with the
Mm.
second one, Virgil, you would remember, and I think most of y'all would, that 2 years ago they allowed an Ake header where somebody dived the
Oh
same way
yeah,
to just play
yeah.
it past. And my thing is like, look, we're gonna end up talking about refs across a few games this weekend, and let's
Mhm.
just kind of make it clear. As with these refs, every single time that we have to talk about them, what really comes up is not anything to do really with the letter of the law in it. It's the consistent application of it continues to vary from referee to referee and from game to game. And that is the issue that we constantly have with it, right? If it is that we knew every week that somebody could duck out the way like that and they're gonna allow it or disallow it, then regardless if you think it's right or wrong, we know what they're gonna do. And you can say it's fair across the board. And we just don't know. Because we saw it allowed for them previously, and I do think on reflection, I do think it's kind of harsh. And part of why I also think it's harsh too is that already when Van Dijk is making contact, Donnarumma is already diving. So it's not like
Mhm.
that Robertson is really impeding his decision because he already made the decision. And so I think it's a rough. I do think Liverpool fans have a right to feel aggrieved there. The performance outside of that, not really. But I do think they have a right to feel aggrieved there because you don't because games say changes say 1-1 changes me how they approach the rest of the game. And
Mhm.
it's unfortunate they didn't get it. Don't feel sorry for them outside of that. And with that, we can get into some of Scott's comments, right? And so, Dominic, actually, I'll start with you, right? And so, one of my favorite pastimes these days is to indulge in Mr. Arnie Slott's words before and after games because I won't lie, he had said that might be related the way that they talk a little bit these days. And before the game, he was very hyped up about how, he knows he's gonna have a great game with Pep Guardiola. He knows the kind of game they're gonna put on offer and have nothing to do with long balls and stuff like play the ground or whatever. After the game, he was a bit more salty on how the game transpired. He even said, well, they score set piece and that kind of thing. And I do think his tone is changing a lot. And so I had to ask you, obviously, it's the first time you're on the pod, how has this performance left you feeling about Liverpool?
Um, you have to feel a little bit worried, I would say, if you're a Liverpool fan. I have seen a lot of Liverpool fans saying it's not time to panic yet, but I would ask them when is it time to panic because you've had bad results in your last 8 or 9 games. I think they've lost about 6 or 7 of those.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a bit worrisome. I think Salah's form is concerning. He has been horrific this season. I don't think there's any hiding from that. Um, I also felt like they probably tried to sign too many players in terms of
Yeah.
you just signed Ekitike and okay maybe you don't let a player like Alex Isak just go past and end up somewhere else, but um it was going to be hard to fit all of those weapons into one team, right? And so then, of course, you have the cachet of, Salah's done so much for that club and he's a club legend and all of that. So can you just, drop Salah just like that? I don't think the fans would take too kindly to that, but maybe it is what they have to look at doing is get him out of the team now. So yeah, for me, for them, it has to be a little bit worrying. And I know it's only 11 games into the season, but to be 8 points back of the league leaders, that's not a good sign. 11.
Yeah, I mean, before I open up the floor to all you, as he talking there, it just had me thinking about how. So, as you all know, and some of the listeners may know, I Israel play FIFA, right? And I is a bit of a douchebag when it comes to playing online sometimes, right? I is one of them who just message man, right? Being honest, right? So, like, you see, like, if I
It does
beat
look
a
like it.
man,
Yo,
if it,
man still doing that.
so you see, like, if I beat a man 5-0, right? And he's staying, but only after I score the 6-1, he leave, I would message him and be like, "You right, bro. That 6-1, is the one that make it hard to come back from. Not the 5 years already down by, right?" And as he talking about it, Liverpool already have 7 losses into the season and it's not yet to panic. But you know when they get panic, when they hit the 8. The 8 is the one that going to cause the panic. And so, Virgil, it's been a while since you've been on. You got to soak in a lot of these losses from the
Yeah.
comfort of your home without having to say anything. And so, how are you feeling then? Because like, I do think this there is concern, right? But the thing is, I don't feel this concern is any different than what it is that we were seeing 2 weeks ago. And even Brandon and I were here last week, and we talked after the Villa game, and I did say I'm not convinced yet. It was a better performance, but we aren't there yet. So, what do you sit after watching them be demolished by your side? How you feeling about them?
Yeah, just want to say something I want to also play off to for what Dominic said. We're looking at all these signings that Liverpool made. And a lot of these signings that Liverpool made came in to be, starters. We're looking at
Correct.
a lot of them. But right now, Liverpool has been relying on a lot of the backup players and the players that they're trying to, transition out of the club because
I,
a lot of these
I
new
mean,
players.
Virgil, not,
Yeah.
not not to stop here, but I don't know if you got permission to call the 70+ million signing, your 116 million signing, and the 117 million signing starters.
Yeah,
I just don't want to get in trouble. That is
that's
all. I
true.
just don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know?
That's true. Because honestly, how it is. Because honestly, look, we're looking at like they brought him into they had him there. Obviously, when you look compared him to Isaac, they want Isaac to be the main starter. We look at Kirkes, who honestly hasn't really cemented it to become a starter. They have been relying on Connor Bradley because who knows what going on for him with Frimpong? If he is going to play defense, attack, nobody knows. And I'm never going to speak on Hurts, honestly. But I feel like with Liverpool right now, if you're saying right now is not time to panic and it's not crisis time, then as I said, you honestly don't know when. Because it doesn't look like it's going to become better. It doesn't look like there's anywhere else to turn, anywhere else to blame. They have it all. They have the players that they wanted, they got them. And right now, the only thing Liverpool fans could hope for is one thing to lose to smaller team to just panic mode. You lost the City in this manner. You really want to hope for a response. And if they don't make an immediate response, things are only going to get worse.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon, I'm gonna let you jump in now. And the only thing I would say is this thing about not bouncing back versus smaller sides. Our memory not short in the Liverpool fans. A couple of weeks ago, is Brentford and a struggling United that was created chance after chance after chance after chance against there. So it's not like to say, we lost the City, there's a good side, whatever. I didn't want to hear that because it's everybody with sense right now create a chance against it. For Brandon,
I want to take this from a different angle because there are many things that we've said over the past few years. I feel like Liverpool really showed that. I think that I remember last week you asked me if I think they're still in the title race, and I told you I wish you asked me that after the City game. So and now
I would
I feel
it.
like
I would ask it. Don't worry.
I feel like they really are because there was no kind of fight in that game to show like, you know what, we really want to be in this title race. And to
Yeah.
go out like that, I don't think was a positive note in my opinion. I feel like there were so many underwhelming performances from like so many players in the team. I feel and Dominic brought up Salah. I mean, like how how can you remove your best player, right, from the team and keep the fans on your side? And if let's say you drop Salah and you lose, like what do they do at that point? Like you have to bring him back in because you know that experiment obviously didn't work. So then I don't know. Like it's been a big question mark over Liverpool for the entire season because everybody at the start of the season was certain that they were going to win the title again, and
Very
now
much so.
everybody is like, okay, well they're not going to win the title, so what was our plan B? Oh wait, we didn't have a plan B. Huh. So what? We just floating in uncertainty for the entire season. Like
Yes.
I asked John earlier, fellas. I asked him like, what is a successful season for Liverpool at this point? Like, do either of y'all have an answer? Like, I don't know. I would love to hear what y'all have to say.
I think maybe it has to be a Champions League football has to be non-negotiable for them, right? Because I don't see how you could sign the players that you sign and then not make top four. That's just ridiculous, and it's probably something that would cost Slot his job. But in terms of a successful season, it has to be at least Champions League football and probably one of the cups, FA Cup or Carabao Cup.
They already Carwell. So that one done gone.
Yeah, so FA Cup then.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't
let
know,
we
maybe
pray
they're
they don't
Champions
box
League
up
run
Crystal
then,
Palace in the
quarterfinal
FA
or
Cup.
semi-final Champions League run.
Yeah. Let me pray
Bro,
they don't
we hope
box
they
up
don't.
Crystal Palace in the FA Cup because
For sure.
Bro, they might bounce up Barca in the Champions League and think it's Crystal Palace and lose.
It's very true. Yeah.
no, it's true though. I mean, Virgil, before you answer, I just want to say, guys, I wish if it was a 2 in the clip, I would go and find it. But you once said the bare minimum was 2 trophies at the start of the season. He
Very true.
said, given what they do, bro, he said it had to be a league and a cup. It can't just be the league. So my thing is, if it is that we go in, we drop in the bar from 2 trophies, from a level-headed Liverpool fan when he behind a mic, to just Champions League football, that is a horrendous season. And I'm not disputing what Dominic's saying. Like, that's the bare minimum of what they should be getting. And if that is what we try to then justify was bare minimum to be in success, how badly this season would have fallen off for them. You know? And that says so much. And like, forget that I have an Arsenal jersey or whatever. Just objectively, what they have done in the window and what they took from last season So then now saying, well, once they qualify for Champions League on the last day of the season, is it okay, bro? Like, nah, boy. No. Like, how protected are they if we accept that? That's a serious question. How
Very true.
protected are they if because me and brother was talking about this earlier, right? If it is that you remove Liverpool from the equation and you put Chelsea in there, or you put United in there, or there you God has City spend money. How it is that the argument would have been different. We see Pogba slandered for years. We see Grealish slandered, We see all these players slandered. But there you see a bad word about Florian, but say, God, how much kilometers he's covered. There you see a bad word about Isak or his player rights. Like, how protected are they really? Because we willing to say that we got, because they fall out the title race. We might as well bring that question forward. They out the title race. Like that is the honest about truth. They out the title race, right? And we willing to just let it go by like, it happened. Like, what are we doing here? That is so not good enough. That is so not good enough. And even taking out the men who come in from this window, that is not good enough from the existing men. The only men this season who 11 games in can hold their head high that they have in a good season is Soboslai. And he are now struggling because everybody around him playing the fool. Because it's only he trying to hold it up.
Yeah, honestly, because even just from there, I remember from the beginning of the season when we had our talking before the season, based on all the signings around it, I had highlights Soboslai to have
you did,
to
yeah,
have
you
an
did.
amazing season because of the players around him. So the fact that he's able to still step up on all the players around him, as I mentioned, you don't spend 100 million twice to leave with the FA Cup. Crystal Palace did that without spending that money. So we're looking, and what making it worse is not just saying that Liverpool out the title race, because I wouldn't go so far and say that yet. But what making it worse is the teams above Liverpool right now.
Yeah, but Virgil, sorry, but imagine if now imagine. Do you fear Liverpool right now?
Honestly, no.
You don't. And you know why? Because I really don't know who it is they play next. I know their fixture is getting easier, but they could be playing late next week, and you might think Leeds could get a result against them. That is how bad it is. They could be playing Wolves next week, and you might think Forest. Yeah, like Sean Dyche.
Yeah. Honestly, not really confident with them against Forest.
And again, right, like I being objective here, like I generally being objective here. That like as compared to okay, you competed against us and I competed and we competed against you all, right? Whereas like I am praying every week for you to drop points, right? Whereas with Liverpool, don't let them go 3 games without dropping points. I'd be surprised. Could die? Forget the dropping points. Them go 3 games without conceding. I am surprised, dog. If they go 1 game without conceding, I am surprised, dog. Is a 70 back there, dog? You just pull them out when you're making mashed potato because you need to drain all the water before you mash it, boy. That is what they are. That is where they've reached. And that, you see, part of this is fueled by a little bit of vim because of how big some of them was willing to talk when they was winning 5 in a row and didn't want to hear nothing about they haven't been performing to that level, But is the difference of fall off, bro? Since they win that 5 in a row, they've had a 15-point swing in that time, 15 points, dog. And it's like, oh well, it's Liverpool, is well. I'm like, dog, come on, spare me, dog. Like spare me. And the thing is, you see, we don't want to say it because, like, it's football and anything could happen, right? But you don't fear them, Virgil. I don't. I like. You can't see a side that lost 5 in 11 games, all of a sudden recovering themselves and be like, well, you can hit title for. Like, come on, bro. It doesn't happen like that. There is no player returning from injury. There is no something that they're waiting on to come back for this thing to click. There isn't anything like that.
Nah, but honestly,
they're losing Salah like later on in the season.
That's very true.
Yeah, correct.
The only thing you could honestly expect, like in a perfect world for Liverpool, is it can't get worse. If they do something drastic with this team and like,
You think it can't get
completely-
worse? I think it could still
Yeah.
get worse, dog. Because
I
imagine they
mean,
still having
Mhm.
games where like the keeper had a like Virgil. If it wasn't for Marshall yesterday, it could have get worse.
True.
a
And
few
what
And he didn't have
chance
a
he
good
bad
really?
game.
results,
And he
a
didn't
few
have that
bad
good of a
results in
game.
this. Yeah, a few bad results in this upcoming run, which I mean, on paper you would have expected them to do good
Yeah,
against
yeah,
your
yeah.
Forest and those like. But a couple of bad results again, and bad results for me is just not winning at this point.
Yeah,
Like if
yeah,
they
yeah, yeah,
draw
for sure.
to the
Mhm.
teams that they have coming up, as that's probably getting worse because it'll go down the table because the table is pretty tight from about
Yeah.
third to 10th or 11th. So
Yeah,
and
it
they
is
currently
really
in
tight.
eighth.
Like,
So they tied on points with Bournemouth, and Bournemouth are a place behind them, and just because of goal difference is why they're ahead of Bournemouth, and Bournemouth
They
are playing
are
good football.
behind Manchester United. Like
that's very
that
true.
is all, bro. They are behind Manchester United, dog. Who beat them?
So
Who
yeah,
beat them?
yeah,
Like, and the thing
it
is,
can get worse.
it can. And no, the thing is, I don't want to say never, but I don't think Slot will get sacked, right? I think that there's enough credit given that he won the league last year that he wouldn't get sacked. But I mean, 5 losses in
Mhm.
14 games. Sorry, 7 losses in 14 games across all competitions. Continue. We might enter into uncharted territories.
Yeah, very true.
I mean, dog, oh, they could probably tell medicine. Like, so I remember Jose had get sacked like January or something when Hiddink had come in. I can't remember exactly when Ranieri had get sacked with Leicester, but we've seen title winning managers get sacked mid the following season if things go really bad.
Yeah.
But
You know?
funny enough, Slot has the worst title defense since
Yeah,
Liverpool
history.
in
Yeah,
2021 or whatever it is, which is kind
yeah.
of shocking because, like, I mean, I honestly didn't even know that Liverpool was so bad the second season afterwards anyway. So
No,
I didn't even
they
remember them being so bad.
that year they scraped in the top 20 last year. That was the
Yeah.
year that they needed Allison to score the header against West
Yeah, for
Brom
real.
in order for them to still make top four. Well, okay, so the question kind of done come up already. I've clearly said that I don't think they need title race anymore. I think it's just too much for them to claw back. Virgil, do you think that they are in the title race?
I honestly really do not want to write them off yet because
Put your
you know
paws on the
I
table, say what you
I've
want to say.
I don't no honestly. My main reason for being on the side of Liverpool being out the title race is not so much down to Liverpool themselves, but how all teams above them and the form that they're in. I do not see them making up that gap. I do not see them doing that. There's a big gap there, and all teams above them in form playing good football. So that's gonna be very hard. It's one thing to hope for one team to drop points. Is that
Yeah,
different hoping for 5, 6 teams to drop points?
Dominic, you
Yeah,
think they need
definitely in
titles?
agreement. Definitely in agreement with his last point there. I think when you're hoping for 5, 6 teams to drop points, and then the actual gap that is there is too much. I don't. It's November. It's mid-November. So I'm not going to say 100% that they're out, but I just think that gap is too much to make up, and it's too many moving parts, too many things that have to happen for them to even one get back into the title race, much less take the lead in
Yeah,
the title race.
yeah.
Mm.
Brandon, I'm sorry, I'd asked you to nearly call us Rimas.
Um, well, I think what the problem is that in when you have to build up, when you have to close such a gap, you only could go for wins. And they're already leaking goals at the back, and I think that is gonna make them even more susceptible. If you thought you saw some high scoring games at Liverpool before, then I think you're gonna see even more ones now because they have no choice. They can't continue to draw
Yeah,
well, they don't even draw games. They don't have zero draws. Commando
yeah, they have
FC.
zero
No
draws.
draws for the season. You know? Like that's what I call them right now. So yeah, I would right now I would say it's you can never say never, but if I was to take a bet on it, I can't see them winning the league from here. I'll be so
Uh,
honest with you.
the other way I'm watching it is that if it was that, so they are currently Just so. Right. So they are currently 8 points behind us, right? And City are 4 points above them. If it was City was on the eight, was the 8 points above, and Arsenal was the four, I think we'd have said it was out. If it was that City was 8 points above them, we'd have comfortably said that it was out. And again, Arsenal don't have the pedigree to just write off anybody out of it. But I do think, given that it's both Arsenal and City above them, I just nah, bro. And as I say, they don't draw, they don't stop teams. Their clean sheet against Villa is their first clean sheet in all comps in God knows how since Burnley. So yeah,
And
boy. All right.
Anfield is no longer a fortress too.
No, I mean to be fair, they keep a clean sheet against Real, but I mean we'll talk about Real later down the line.
Mm-hmm.
But let me get a little more positive. Let me get Virgil in a little zone. Virgil, do you think that we are seeing the birthing of a new city with Pep Guardiola on the side?
Yeah, because if you're looking compared to start of the season to now, a lot of the problems that we had, Pep has found a way to fix them, or in the transition of fixing them. One, we started off saying they build up play was too slow. Found a way to fix that. Next, we said that how they had a little problem with defense. Pep has found his set defenders that he would like to go with, and also bringing in Donnarumma is also assured at the back. And then Pep also said that how the players need to contribute more to goals and not just rely on Haaland, which we saw today. Haaland was on the score sheet, but a lot of other players could have gotten on the score sheet. So that's one thing. When you see all your problems and all the questions become answered early in the season, it's a positive sign. And it all came from the thinkers that Pep did, playing Doku, playing those other attackers closer to Haaland. Honestly, it was surprising to see, but I'm here for it.
Yeah. Brandon?
I feel like every single question that people would have had for City for the entire season, I think they've answered it in like this short space of the season so far.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you
Yes.
every single question, I think like people would ask if their defense is going to be good enough for the whole season. I think the defense has been pretty good. How would they cope without Rodri? Well, they have Nico Gonzalez, who is pretty good.
Yeah.
A good
We'll talk
replacement.
about it.
Can they feed Haaland? Yes. Can Haaland score for the entire season? Yes. So I don't know what question there is left for people to ask that they haven't answered already. So I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah.
it at this point, Pep is, and I saw many people talk about this as well. The style that he's playing this season is not a typical Pep team, but it could be something that is just as good, but not something that we used to. Because they don't have as much possession, they play a lot more direct. They're looking for Haaland all the time. So I mean, I have nothing but good things to say about them, boy. I feel like they've been very good for the season so far.
You don't think it a little different, but there are some traits that are similar to the 18-19 team. When it is that Sane and Sterling was very direct in their play. I do think that there is some similarities to that era of Pep. Like I don't think it's the same because Haaland is not the same. Like Haaland is not the type of player that Aguero was or Jesus. But I do think like there is an emphasis on directness that's similar to like those early days of Pep. And even going back to playing like 2 10s and stuff like because we see Bernardo and Foden start in this game as well. So I think that there is some similarities to that. Dominic, anything?
Yeah, I mean, like Brandon said, nothing but good things to say about City, which suits me a little bit because I don't like them. But yeah, no,
Me either,
I
but there
think
we are.
I think their biggest question coming into the season was about creativity and how do we get the ball to Haaland to score goals, and they've done it. And it's not just whereas in the past it's probably been a bit over reliant on the Bruyne to create. This season we seeing more
Mm-hmm.
creativity from perhaps everybody else. Um, and they've been missing Turkey. So when Turkey gets back and gets back into some sort of rhythm and form, that's going to be even more concerning for the teams that they have to face. And I want to shout out the left back though, Nico O'Reilly. I think he's been fantastic and he's keeping
Yeah, dog.
Nuri out of the team. And I know again, I know
Yeah.
Nuri was injured, but he's back now, one, and The thing is that O'Reilly just played that well, and he deserves his spot in that team. And he even made Pep shift Vardiol to centre back
To
because
centre back,
Vardiol
yeah.
has played left back for a lot of his time at City. So yeah, shout out to Nico O'Reilly for sure because I think he's a very good talent. I
Yeah,
think
and
he's
he's been
probably
really
been
good.
one of their best players for this season.
No, I think so too. And I mean, it says so much that, I know he is fit. And it isn't like give him to go back into the team. And look, we mentioned some players there. Even Dominic just mentioned the question about creativity, right? And I think that the question has been answered, but I don't think it has been answered in the way that people expected it to. And I think one of the players that I really want to shout out, one on a lesser scale, but still shout out is Foden. I think that he is playing really well. And I do think that, like, playing deeper has changed how it is that I've been willing to view him. But playing any pockets has helped help City progress the ball. But it's really Jeremy Doku I want to highlight. And yes, today was his first goal in the league or whatever. But I do think that he has destabilized defenses every single week for them. And I thought that we saw it again today. He probably had his best performance of the season against Liverpool, winning the penalty, scoring a screamer. And I think that I watched Lyles on YouTube and he was saying that, he has the things that you can't teach. And yet he's young enough to learn the things that you can't teach still. And like he has one of the most unstoppable shoulder drops that we've seen in football, and he does it week in, week out. And like I spoke about him on the preview for the season. That once that he does find that final ball a little better. It's curtains. And look, we look to Shuki to have been the one to be the more creative, hub replacing KDB. And unfortunately, he has been injured and has been out of the team. But I think Doku has stepped up in a massive, massive, massive way. And before I let Virgil glaze him, I also want to just shout out Nico Gonzalez. He has this outstanding record. Ever since he's joined Manchester City, he has yet to lose a game that he has started. And I think that he has started a bit shaky in his early days at City, but I think this season he has really taken a step up. And one of the questions in preseason, as Brandon mentioned, was can they replicate Rodri not being there? And while I think that he has a long period to prove that he can't just replicate Rodri, he's doing a fantastic job standing in for him. So, Virgil,
Yeah,
how is your players looking real good?
Yeah, that start you mentioned with Gonzalez is very similar to Rodriguez, being in team and being on.
All right. I'm not having that one, right? Because
It's just
that stupid Rodri stat included all the losing a penalty shootout to Madrid dog.
hey, by the rules of the law, that doesn't count as a loss.
I will take you off.
That don't count as a loss by letter of the law. I just saying. But anyway.
Way. They're trying to silence the minorities way.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Anyway, going back. Yeah.
I mean City fans, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what on a City fan? And he also was an AC fan too.
And yeah. Actually, let you know, I know about highs and lows, let you know. I know about highs and lows. Anyway, yeah. But yeah, with all the players and everything, with how they step up, I would agree, that all eyes was on Turkey, was on the other players, but you saw the likes of Doku stepping up. Because I honestly had my criticism of Doku over the years, and I feel like everything that's been going around the players, he was the one that just constantly kept progressing. As mentioned, this is honestly probably his best performance for the season. Well, it was just for the season for a long while, honestly. And I feel like everything is really just kind of, I say all the questions being answered.
Yeah.
So, and also, any other and also I want to also give mention to Bernardo Silva because I've been very critical of him, having him play more of a deeper defensive role. The likes of when we had like Dejani come into the team. The experiences there, and for him to keep his place. And Pep is a big admirer of Bernardo Silva, honestly. But you see, all the players right now kind of coming into the strengths.
I just want to say, I was the one to say that everybody who thought going into the season that he was going to get Rodri, Reynolds, and Cheeky. Oh, you don't know about Pep favorite son Bernardo Silva now. This man was sure to start every week. All right, so this is the last thing I'm gonna say here, and then we're gonna to move off this game because we are 40 minutes in and we still on this. So I am creating this as a bit, and we're gonna do this every single week now. So after this weekend, Erling Haaland has now contributed from what was 65% of City goals is now down to 60%. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Kick him out the side, right? So, in order for City to hit the 91 goals that is usually required for a Premier League winning side, he now has to score instead of 59, is down to 55. And I continue to look forward to updating you all about this every single week as we see Erling Haaland race to 50 plus goals for the season. So, last thing that we're gonna have to do here is choose two players to be in our team of the week. I just want to say, guys, I'm really sorry for not making the graphics every week. We obviously do them. Them graphics is a little time consuming, but I'll promise you all it will get better. So, two players for you all to choose from this week. Who do you all want to pick alongside Jeremy Doku?
I mean, Haaland is like the usual pick, right? But I mean, if we deciding against Haaland, I'll probably take Nico Gonzalez.
I
I thought
think
you
this
were
is one of those we could not choose him and highlight two other men. I think Nico was also really good.
Yeah,
One of the
yeah.
few weeks that we'll get across the season to not choose
not put
Haaland.
Haaland. He did score in the week. It's just you just didn't
I,
pick him.
yeah. Hey, big up Konate, dog. Hey, this man, boy, this man, dog. You know how they just say, like, in your contract, yeah, man, just play better. this man, debunking the theory.
Yeah.
But yeah, Virgil, Dominic, who else do you all want to put with Doku?
I agree with Nico, but I would shout out the other Nico O'Reilly.
O'Reilly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think it's one of those two, and I agree that is probably a week we could leave out Haaland because of the whole product that City's team puts out there, and he just got the one goal. I mean, obviously it was an important goal, but yeah, Nico Gonzalez or Nico O'Reilly, one of those two.
Yeah, because
Virgil,
I want to say I really would want to go with O'Reilly as well because it's not easy to go up against Salah and perform that way.
Sure.
But also Salah's been trashed too, so that at this point the achievement is not really that high anymore. So but to say I have to shout out Nico Gonzalez. So
the man
I would
score
more,
one thing, and he did us the honor of doing it off Virgil van Dijk, which is make it even funnier.
yeah.
However, Virgil, I promise you, we don't have any beef with you. Please don't come after us the way you came after Rooney just because he decided to highlight some shaky performances, right? So, right. So,
Yeah.
Nico
He'll come first on score.
Gonzalez.
Probably.
Yeah. All right, guys. Next up, we're gonna probably try to move a little bit faster. So, Spurs 2, Manchester United 2. It probably was the most draw fixture of the year. And this was extremely funny because it looked like for long stretches of this game that Spurs were meeting each other for the first time. Like they never played together. And then as soon as one went in, all of a sudden the game came alive and they remembered how to attack. So, Brandon, I'm going to start with you. What did you take away from this game?
Well, I don't know if you all heard that, but Spurs are now bringing in a graphic artist, like an actual painter, so that they can paint Richarlison's shirt onto his body, so he never has to take it off again. Because whenever he takes off the shirt to celebrate, they always lose.
Yeah.
So that big developments if you all haven't heard it. But I think it was a very dreary game, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, a lot of United's players continue to get them out of situations. I feel like their second half performance was horrid. We have spoken at length about Mboma and how good he's been for the season. I know, John, if I highlight, we've talked about Delit for the season as well. And then Spurs on the other hand, I think like they in the first half they had the equivalent of the United second half. So it was really a tale of two halves. That's the best way I can describe it here. And I guess it was a fair result in the end, but I mean, gosh, I wish they could have both lost. I can't like it.
Well, it kind of does feel like both lost, right? Because Dominic, I'm going to switch to you, right? But it doesn't really feel like any of them came out of this feeling good about the result, right? So what do you think? Because neither team really feel like they got anything from the game.
Yeah, perhaps I would say fans would probably be happier because their unbeaten run stays alive.
Yeah.
I think for a team that has struggled a little bit and everyone talks about their results and their negative results. So to stay unbeaten and to find a way to just stay to not lose that game, I think they would be more pleased. But Spurs, I think they trending in the wrong direction because it's I think it's one win in their last four Premier League games, so that will definitely be of concern for them. And I think they miss Kudus a lot. Like the creativity was
Yeah,
not
boy.
as good as it has been with him on the pitch. But I think he's probably their most important player.
Yeah, valid. I mean, Virgil on that point, right? He brought up the attack, but this Xavi Simons fella, boy, I like, what's so funny, boy, is I thought when it is Odebert had a role Ugarte leading up to the first goal, I thought, hey, you know what, boy, Xavi Simons
Yeah,
finally
same.
move past his marker and all. Only to find out he gets some off at that point. And it was really Odebert who had to do it, right? But the thing is, Virgil, I said on the preview that I think Frank would I get him organized, would I get him defensively sound. But these attackers that they have a worse set with Kudus missing. It just felt so lackluster, and to me, Xavi Simons, not to put him under too much fire, but that's just kind of the kind of embodiment of it. Because it generally feels like you put that outer strength on him, he completely falls apart and can't progress the ball. So, what do you have to say about the Spurs attack? Do you think that would be the biggest hindrance for them this season?
Um, I feel like it's very difficult to speak on the Spurs attack because they've had moments where you felt like they were kind of coming alive, and right now it just seems flat. It just seems so flat right now because it seems with Spurs they have that moment, those moments where they'll have those games where they will score freely, but most times it might not come from the attack. It might come from the hands from the defense and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And then also you look at all the personnel they have. You mentioned Xavi Simons, who I felt has just been terrible. His decision making has been terrible since the decision to go Spurs. And this man, you don't know where his best position is. Even for other players, you don't know where the best position is. Sometimes they haven't Kudus in the middle. They haven't Simons out wide. You're looking at for strikers. I feel like it's a big headache right now for Spurs because you're seeing what they have. They had a lot of positive signs at the beginning of the season, but if I'm to sit down here and say where they should go next, I have no idea. The only thing they could do is rely on Kudus because he was just pulling goals and assists out the bag from somewhere. So I feel like that heavy reliance on one player is bound to blow up in the face like previous times in the season. But right now, I really do not know who they can look towards. The only positive one for Spurs right now is our World Cup year and that Richarlison. That's the only positive Spurs have right now.
Yeah, they just need to figure out a way to keep his shoe to them. Brandon,
Mhm.
anything you want to add to that?
No, not really.
Well, the other thing going to Mortar United is they now have 11 points from the last 15 available and 14 actually from the last 21. So, Brandon, I must ask, has Ruben turned a corner? And not referencing
Hmm.
to the corner they scored late on to equalize.
Oh, I mean, everybody know what a cul-de-sac is, right? I mean, he probably turned in the corner and they cul-de-sac, right? Like just turning back into the same system that just he's gonna continue doing everything that he's been doing. I don't really see a lot of difference in what he's been doing from the start of the season to now. Like I've said since last week, I just think there's a lot of players that are performing very well, and that is really getting them through. I still don't see a lot of patterns. I still don't see a lot of similar play throughout their games.
I
But
still don't like the midfield.
I guess this is why everybody thought that they would have been so high up at the start of the season. Like because I think a lot of that just stemmed from player quality, and so far that is probably what's kept them so high up in the table.
Yeah, and I mean, like, even leaning on that, and y'all could comment on this as well, is that, like, I was going to make the point that I do think that their first 11 and one or two others are good enough for them to make Europe. But, like, everybody they have to depend on below those players just aren't good enough, Like, Ugarte is the number one, though. Like, yeah, the second this one touch the pitch, they just fall apart, right? But not just him, right? Like, I do think Dalo is not good enough. I think that for all the talent that he has, I don't think Mino has ever really come on and look good. And I can kind of see why in the current setup, all those caveats, that he hasn't been summoned on as much as United has probably wanted him to. And so I don't think that the team below the team has been good enough. But to just make Europe, you might not need that much depth in order to get there. But Virgil, Dominic, y'all, what do y'all think?
No, it's true. With United, honestly, with United, it seems that we look at a lot of the new players. They have that intensity there. They have that drive, but just seems like there's a lot of bark that they have in from those new players. And you can just say that until they get that United where they just start to get low effort like the rest of the teams and just play average football. But it's so much you can do just relying on those new players. Credit to them. But yeah, as I mentioned, you're looking at from everybody else below the attack is just average, poor. So you can't really hate them too much because you can't really kick it. We don't want to be kicking United with a dong and everything too.
No,
They
I
have
completely forget Xerxes that person. Yeah.
That's it.
I only now trying to think about who's the backups though? Who's the backups? Alright! I can't remember last time I see him come on the field.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at all the other personnel that they can rely on, it's just all average. It's just all average for them.
Yeah. Dominic?
Yeah, I think there's a severe lack of depth for United. And as you said, that first 11 or first 13-ish might just be good enough to get them to Europe. But, other than that, because, Mendes complain about Ugarte like clockwork. Mendes complain about Dalo like clockwork. He has been a non-factor this season. Who are even the backups for Mbeumo and Cunha?
Mason Mount.
Mbeumo and Cunha, they are the one backups.
I think
And mind you, we going into AFCON where Mbeumo and Ahmad won't be here. And somebody
And
else.
Mazraoui.
I think that is Mazraoui. Yeah, Mazraoui. So I don't know what happened to them in that time.
At centre back too, who are the you really trustworthy backups if you wanna call them that too. Lamens has been good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lamens has been good, but Bayern is rubbish. So God forbid they have problems.
All right, guys. So the last thing I was gonna just say here is I think we have been saying that Mbeumo has been one of the best signings, and do you all think that he could be the signing of the season? Because imagine where it would be without him. And I think it has been a case where United has obviously signed a lot of expensive players, a lot of fancy players, a lot of players with good stats, and it hasn't always translated. But I think this is not even shade towards Cunha or anything, but I think Mbeumo has really stepped up how you expect a marksman coming from another Premier League team to go there and do well. Probably how Liverpool fans wanted Isak to be, but it didn't work out that way. And so with that, I do think Mbeumo has very much been repaying his fee so far. You all can let me know all you think.
I'm sorry, this season, no. United player this season, maybe, yeah. But I feel like we mentioned everybody else is just kind of average, and he's the only one who actually, came from actual good coach and just come over to this new team and just use his experience. So he is a quality player, yeah. But yeah, I can't really be too hyped up by that average performance.
Hey, Virgil is one hit. I don't know why. Sally.
What was the question? I was taken back by what William was saying.
Dog. What's that? United drop points, City win. And he still wouldn't get having no kind of flaws. But I respect it now.
I can't.
Hey, is that one of these signings of this season, Sonic?
He could potentially be. It depends on where they finish. It depends on how many goals he gets. I think he's been very good. I think it's he's a good player standing out in a team like United. And if he gets them top four, I think he would definitely be a contender because I mean he's been so good. I mean the only right winger that has more contributions than him I think is Salah from the start of last season to now.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean if it's only Salah, I mean that you had to be doing real good. So yeah,
yeah.
potentially.
All right, guys. So who, Dominic, what do you think? Sign of the season quality or not?
Nah, probably not sign of the season, but he could
That's the
potentially, like
energy.
Virgil said, could be their player this season. He started a little bit shaky, but I think he's found his footing now. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't think, but at the end of the season, I don't think we'd be saying that he's signing of the season.
Yeah. I don't even have music going on by Dominic, boy, but we hearing a lot of feedback from your side, boy. Man, trying to do a pod in a party, boy. That's what going on.
Noise by me.
But that's okay. That's okay, though. That's okay. All right, guys. So who all you want to put for the team? Like, honest to God, I thought this was so damn mid between the two of them. I really don't know who all you want to put. Um, So I'm open to any and all suggestions. Okay, it was the funny thing. I thought Udabot came on and did well, right? But we don't really give sub on players anything now, you know.
True.
But I'm open to hearing honestly anything because it was so meh.
Yeah.
Dillit did play good, you know, and he did score at
Yeah.
the end, you
He
know.
did concede
Uh,
too though.
he did
Um
concede too, you know. Want to
I mean
tell, one third
I,
chance.
I guess I guess you could just give it to Mbemo, I guess, because I mean I don't really know who
Yeah.
else you could probably give it to because nobody else was outstanding in the game, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's no one.
Yeah, yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, cool. Yeah, well, because I generally don't know who to put. Look, we was now talking about sign of the seasons. Well, look, I can tell you somebody who's definitely up there for sign of the season, and that is Granit Xhaka as he
Oh yeah.
faced his former side in a 2-all draw where Xhaka and Ballard was the two former Arsenal players decided they wanted to really perform. I mean, to be fair, I don't think Xhaka had a great game. I think Ballard,
No,
though. I think Ballard had a demonic game, and I mean, I'll put it out there from now.
Mhm.
I'm not hearing anything else. He's definitely going to the team though because he was absolutely insane. And look, my
He was
overview on
everywhere.
it is this week. I've said this a billion times. Specifically to Zip actually, Salik, that we need to keep in mind, guys, we're not going to win every game, and we need that when it is that we do drop points, that we don't lose our heads about it. Now, the way that we did concede the equalizer is poor, and we should not be doing that. However, these guys have been so formidable in the back line that there's going to be days that they don't keep everything out that they should, right? And I do think that was on both Raya and Gabriel. They shouldn't have conceded it that way more on Raya because I don't know if you see like the stills like that thing, right? Why this brother is running out and your hand so if it is you're coming for the ball, go up and punch the ball. Like, why are you coming out like that, right?
Yeah.
But look, he's been so good, they've been so good that I find it hard that our 10-game win run came to the end of the weekend. 10 games, bro. You know, winning run. We drop points to a side that has been performing extremely well at their stadium. And the truth is, this is the fourth time for the season Arsenal have gone behind in a game and only once we've lost, you know, and we came back to get a point against City, we came back and won on Newcastle, and it's 2-all here. I was very encouraged by the performance, more so in the second half, and how they responded to going behind. And not to make it about injuries or whatever, but like this is a team that has been carrying a lot of knocks recently. And we are at the tail end of what should be carrying all these injuries. And the expectation is a lot of men coming back after international break, which is, so evident by the fact that Marino was playing on top again, and stuff like that. And so it was point drop, but I mean part of this probably because, there is a buffer there because we had so much points in front. But there's nothing really that worries me coming out of this. Credit to Sunderland more than anything else. I thought that they really fought well. I do think some of it is because Craig Boston allowed some of it, but I still think that even going 2-1 down and given Arsenal defensive record in the last couple of weeks, it was easy for them to just sit back and say, you know what, it done there. We're not going to score a second one. And they did really, really well. And really shout out Ballard. I thought he was really good. Once again, Royston goal, bro. This man is a magnet, though. The ball is always finding its way to him. And to beat him really took something exceptional for what was his second goal. And the first one, well, Declan Rice did what he did and hustle somebody. And yeah, that's really it. I had to take from Trossard, by the way, dog, having, if it wasn't Bala that I put Trossard in, I thought he was having another exceptional game and has been having a very, 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 very good season. And so, yeah, that is really all I had to say for that. Brandon, last week we talked about, Arsenal defense and stuff, and we talked about, like, teams are yet to figure out how to breach this Arsenal defense, right? So I'm gonna ask you then: do you think that that Sunderland have found a replicable way of breaching Arsenal's defense?
Well, the sad truth is that it's not anything tactically that you could recreate. It's
Yeah.
more about the approach to the game, in my opinion. Like what I saw from Sunderland reminded me a lot of Aston Villa versus PSG in the Champions League last season. Like I really feel like it's the approach you have to go into the game with, because for the
Mm-hmm.
first time in the season, I really thought that that the Arsenal defense looked a bit shaky, and I thought that like that they were pressing. They were pressing well. They were getting at you all. They were causing problems. So I feel it has a lot to do with like just the approach. I can't really say there's a tactical thing that people could do, because there was really nothing tactical about the game. Like Ballard had an incredible game, like just from his own bravery, like the dive to block the goal at the end of the game. Like I mean, there's
Yeah.
nothing tactical about those things. I mean, like that it's all heart and passion, just basically trying to go into the game, and it's not easy for teams to recreate that. And I mean, like, if your only kryptonite, for lack of a better word, is that is nothing tactical, then I mean that says a lot about the team itself, because it's going to be very difficult to crack. But I would say though, like I wasn't impressed by Arsenal in this game at all, and I also thought it was a poor time to drop points, because
Mm-hmm.
right before the
That's valid.
international break, and I say this every international break, every team views the international break differently depending on the result before. And I understand your perspective on it, and like, you're not gonna win every game, but I think from the view of everybody else who is already chasing pack, I think it was a
Yeah,
poor
yeah,
a poor time to drop points. So yeah.
yeah. No, completely valid, bro. Dominic, I was gonna ask you, how worried should Arsenal be now of City and Liverpool? Well, I guess we just all say Liverpool out the title race, but well, we didn't all say it. I don't want to put words in all of it, but not everybody said it. But probably more City than Liverpool. How worried should Arsenal be?
Yeah, scale of 1 to 10, 10 being most worried. I think Arsenal should still be about a 6 or a 7 worried about City. I
Yeah,
With Liverpool, yeah, I had looking at like 3 or 4, because I mean, yeah, Liverpool's form, I wouldn't be worried about them. Virgil said he's not worried about them as a City fan, and he has half the gap that you all have on them. So I think Arsenal's
honestly.
defense as well, it's been so formidable. The form that they in is hard to see them, really dropping that many points. And as they say in goals, defense wins you championships, right? So I do kind of believe in that as well. So yeah, no, worried about Liverpool, not so much. Worried about City, yes, I would be, because I also don't think City are playing their best football just yet, and we are only 11 games into the season, so there is a lot of time for City to get even better than they have been.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And I mean, I think, you see, what sucks about the Sunderland game is that we had the lead, right? And we had it late. We had it until the last 2 minutes of the game, right? And I think that the team has been very much carrying the burden of not being able to rotate certain players, because it has been clusters of injury. And we haven't been talking about it because they've been winning, right? But like, it's the same men playing right through over and over. And it's not acceptable given Arsenal defense to throw away a lead late. But I do think that we saw what it is that we using the same men over and over, that we couldn't get out ball like at all. The last 10, 15 minutes of the game, it was that we didn't have anybody who had the legs in them to go on and run high, to carry the ball, to win the ball high and stuff like that. And it's not acceptable. And I agree with what Brandon's saying, especially given it was a weekend that City pool played. And the thing is that if Arsenal had win, then I would have been even more unapologetic about Liverpool winning all the title race. Because then it would have been 10 points as a gap, right? And so I do take that point into consideration. I think it's just probably was one, and I think I was informed too, right? But one game too far for a team that's lacking both the strikers, two of its wingers, Odegaard, that kind of stuff. And as you said, that City hasn't hit their best form yet. I don't think Arsenal have either, with all these players to come back. Like there was so much concern about Arsenal from open play and stuff. Ever since October, since the start of the season and now, we have fought for open play expected goals. And that is without all these men being there. We haven't had Odegaard for God knows how long. Kai hasn't played this season. Gyökeres has missed the last few games and stuff like that. So plenty to look forward to. Vigil, I really care to hear what you had to say, to be honest. So Ballard is my choice to go into this team. I'm assuming nobody can contest that.
Ballard might contest it though.
Yeah, he
Might win
might
the header
contest it.
too.
And funny enough, he did. He got. I don't know if he was actually credited with it, but he won when he dueled for the challenge that led to Bobby scoring.
Oh, I thought he didn't get the assist for that.
I don't know if he did, but I know that he did contest it. So he scored, he assisted, and then he blocked the Marino translator.
Oh, he got the assist.
Okay, well, you see? Yeah, so if you had him on your bench, hard luck. Cool. All right, and last one that we're going to talk big on. After this, we really speed it through all here because we have a Real fan here. We can't not talk about Real, right? So, next one is Chelsea won 3-0 to the championship favorites in 2026-2027. Because, let me read, when they go down next year, they're not going to be the favorites. They'll probably have to take a year to catch yourself and then be favorites, right? But you had some big performances by Brandon, and Garnacho looked like to have a really good one as well. João Pedro on his score sheet again. And so, your overview, and then I'll let Will say something.
Well, I'll keep it quick because I know we're trying to get through to other things. I just want to say, John, you will know very well that everybody was on the Garnacho pairing last week. Yes. I guess those people don't have much to say this week, unfortunately. I also want to shout out Enzo Fernandez, an incredible performance. I've not shouted him out throughout other games during the season, but he was unbelievable against Wolves. And I also want people to be a bit honest. I mean, especially Chelsea fans, because we played Wolves. I believe it was 2 weeks ago or maybe 3 weeks ago, and the game in the cup was completely different. And we totally dominated them here. We didn't give them a chance to get back into the game. No red cards, thankfully. So I want people to see that there is actually, we are going in the right direction. I mean, like we were second at one point up until the City game. And I feel like a lot of, if I didn't look at the table and I listened to everything people have been saying about Chelsea for the entire season, you would swear that we're somewhere in mid-table. I mean, we're probably looking at a team
like
from Merseyside. Yeah. But I think we've done pretty well, man. And I just want to say one more thing. I mean, I guess the formula is give João Pedro balls where he doesn't have a choice whether to shoot or not, because that seems to be the only way for him to score. Because once you give him the ball in front of the goal and he has no other choice to shoot, he's been pretty clinical. So good signs.
Dominic, let me tell you what you gotta realize. Me and Brandon had a small. We should put some money on it for the kicks in. And how long we gotta wait for you to show back up on this pod? He say until they would have trophy. I say I give you until February, when somebody catch themselves, they probably spend more money on another player. And then he might show back up again. Virgil, I want to ask you though that you were really high on Chelsea at the start of the season. You had them second. So how have you felt? What was it positive or negatives you have for them so far? Obviously, this was a really good win. And to be honest, cause like I was looking into stuff for Arsenal that we current and lost. Right. So at the October international break, we was 1 point above Liverpool, 3 to City, 5 to Chelsea. Now it's only 6 above Chelsea, which tends to be like they've won every single game except for the Sunderland game. So Sunderland take 4 points from Chelsea and Arsenal, right? But like they've had a really good month and they sit in the table. So what do you think about them so far?
Yeah, and not to sound overbearing, but I also did say that
you are never overbearing, bro. You are always bearing adjustedly.
Nah, trust me, I know overbearing, but the thing is, I just don't care. I just keep being more overbearing. But yeah, not to sound overbearing. I did also highlight Enzo as well to be Chelsea's. I feel like they were for them to be Chelsea's top, the best player for the season. But I also did say that factoring Cole Palmer to be there in the team. So we're looking at the
Yeah.
positive and negatives for Chelsea. And honestly, as Brandon did mention, if the way that how the season went, if you look at the table and you hear week in, week out about Chelsea and different performance, you would not think Chelsea would be sitting top four. And I feel like that is credit to them because there's a lot more positives than negatives. And Chelsea has honestly been doing their best to stay alive. I feel like
Yeah.
they're not up there yet. I'm not going to be kind to them here and say this Chelsea team is, is that far ahead and amazing. But with everything that's been going on with them, you felt that there was the perfect reason for Chelsea to kind of fall apart. And they have
Yeah,
just
they
been
haven't.
doing everything to just to stay alive week in, week out. The biggest question is, if they could, find some other sustenance for them to kind of to keep pushing because we see how tight it is in the table.
It
They
is,
need
yeah.
to actually take advantage to try and break away from the pack. If they could manage to do that, that would be so good for them. Any future errors that come, they'll have that cushion there. But honestly, for
Yes,
Chelsea, yeah.
you had them second because you
Mhm.
also said like you expected them to push for the title, right? You still feel like that's on the cards for them?
Pushing for it, well, I feel like they have a better chance than Liverpool, but for Chelsea,
Hey,
I,
watch out. I love this party, man. Oh my goodness, dog. And I'll tell the funny thing, I've always said, like, I never really had no sort of vim for Liverpool, I think, before. But you see how greasy that man was talking,
hey,
dog. You see, now, boy, they can hold it all. They can take all. I do not care. Especially for that certain one who not got shot for the pot for months. They can all have it, dog. But yes, Coach, okay.
yeah, but I mean, going back to what I was saying about Chelsea's positioning table, as well as you look at the performances week in, week out. The biggest difference, similar to what I mentioned with Liverpool, about why I felt like Liverpool was kind of more leaning toward without the title race. For Chelsea, the difference is you're looking at the quality of the teams above them, which is City and Arsenal. And I don't really feel if we go on about for this, how the Premier League is like a marathon and for the endurance, I don't feel like Chelsea has that right now, especially not just the quality of players, but also the injuries that they have. And I feel like right now the focus is to secure that Champions League football, which I feel with them and with that big pack, that big pack we have from two to seventh, I feel like they are in the best position right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is supposed to be quicker, but I am very impressed with Chelsea, and I think a big part of it too is because of who missing. And like your first name you go to is
Mhm.
Palmer, but I also want to say Delap too. And I know that he's not some household name or whatever, but when you look at how Joe Pedro season has progressed, you'd expect Delap to be able to come in and do stuff. He hasn't been available. Palmer hasn't been available. The centre backs haven't been available. But look who has stepped up and has been available. Reece James is the right back for the season. He has been the best right back in the league this season.
Mhm.
Caicedo has been the best deep line midfielder in the league this season. Cucurella has been one of the best performers this season. And big up them who have stepped up in adversity to have them only 6 points off top, only 2 points off the City team that we now loaded, and big up them. All right, Brandon, give me who it is that you want for your player this game, for the team of the week.
Well, I mean, only one person I could really put in, that would be Enzo. Even though he didn't get a goal or assist, he was just fantastic, bro.
Cool. All right. We got to speed around this now. Dominic, I'll start with you, bro. What it is that you thought from the Villa versus Bournemouth game, and you're going to tell me one time who is the best player that you would want to put in the team of the week?
Um, well, simple. Smash Bournemouth was 4-0. They completely dominated the game. Bournemouth
Yeah,
probably perhaps their worst performance of the season, I would
yeah,
say.
for sure.
To like for from a Villa team who had such a bad start to the season, yeah, that was a bad for them. Semenyo missed penalty. I think that's some of their game for them. And a player, I would probably look at Morgan Rogers. I think he might have been the best player on the pitch for Villa. For me.
Yeah. Anything you all want to say about this game? I completely agree with the sentiments. I thought Emi Martinez was really good as well, obviously, because he saved the pen. But there's another keeper I want to put in, so I for leaving Emi out. And I for putting Morgan Rogers in. I just want to highlight their last goal scorer and somebody who I think will have a big part in turning this season is Yuri Tillemans. And look, I don't want to get into the minutia of who's world class or not, but he's been a huge miss for them this season. He's a very, very, very good player and has been a huge miss. And they are sitting sixth. With all the shakiness of the season, they are sitting sixth. So we'll see where they go. Cool. Morgan Rogers is in. I can't believe we reach this far in and we don't even have a striker in the team. But we'll see how that develops. Cool. Next one. Brandon, why don't I get you to give me somebody from the Forest versus Leeds game? Who would you like to put from there? And the first win under but dog Sean Dice.
I'm gonna go for unconventional one here. And this might be his
Sure.
first inclusion of the season, based
Probably
which is
is.
surprising based on how good he was last season. But Milinkovic, bro, I thought he was great in the game. He finally looked back to his best. I think Daesh has him playing the a style similar to how he played last season. I just thought he was very, very, very good.
Yeah. Big up Big Gibbs White too. I didn't even know Gibbs White was he.
Yeah, he was my second choice actually.
Yeah.
But he was really, really good as well. Cool. Next game we're gonna have. Oh, I just got to say Christopher versus Brighton that I wanted to put in for Brugan because he had a really
insane game, bro.
Yeah. He was actually awarded man of the match and thing too, though. I mean, Palace. I know what Palace kind of a weird place to them because like they do it good, but then it doesn't do so good. And I do think that you are seeing the effects of a side that's never been in Europe acclimatizing to having to play twice a week. So yeah, we're gonna go with for Bruggen. All right, cool. 3 more spots to fill. Next up, probably the underperforming team of the season. And I also think this is the one we're gonna get a striker from. But Virgil, I'm gonna go to you. Brentford won 3-1 against Newcastle. Obviously, I red card happened to Dan Burn, who, by the way, scored one of the best headers you'd ever seen in the Champions League this week going by.
Correct.
But then he had his team down to 10 men, sorry, and then they lost 3 points. So, hey, Olia, the Rams, their relegation curse might be real long because these men going lower and lower in the table. But yeah, Virgil, most so I guess on Newcastle, are you surprised at how bad things are going for them?
No, well, I feel like for Newcastle, well, I felt like from the beginning of the season, after the loss of Isak, I felt like there were a lot of question marks. People felt like, who they rely on. They did bring in the big man on top, and it felt like they were back. They found that replacement. But right now things just seem to slow down, and you could honestly make mention too about the whole Champions League football being a factor because they have been quality in Champions League.
It's like Jekyll and Hyde, bro. It's like Jekyll and Hyde.
There've been so much quality in Champions League. But honestly, if we look at this game and we said that how we felt like we want to highlight a striker, you feel like it'll be more from Newcastle's end. But you have to give shout out to Igor Thiago because for him, I feel like he is probably second best striker in the league behind Haaland right now because from I think he's right now 8 goals for the season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like the way that how he plays, his hold up play is there, his runs in behind is there, his power. Yeah, I feel like that performance, especially the last goal he scored.
I'll tell you, we're doing this fast, Virgil.
Quality. Yeah.
Wrap it up.
Igor Thiago.
Salik, anything at all you just want to say about these two teams? Obviously, I think Brentford having a very good season, all things considered, but Newcastle are having a complete opposite.
Yeah, strangely enough, John, I feel like this is a conversation we've had every season, since Eddie Howe has been here. Even especially after his first season, I feel like we've all had this discussion about whether they're becoming stale. I mean, they have lost Isaac, and I think that's a huge loss. I think a lot of the players that they brought in,
and nobody gained Isaac.
Yeah, true. hey, that man initials is AI, and he working from home, so he really makes sense.
Yeah. Who said AI would take our jobs?
Yeah, correct.
Not for equity.
Not for equity. John, we fly out his bedroom there, yes. No, but I think they have really struggled to get past not Newcastle, not Isaac, but I feel like the rest of the team is not as prolific as last season. And again, I'm gonna keep coming back to the same point with you, John. It's like 3 years I've been saying the same thing. You cannot expect to reach certain levels when you have certain types of players in your team. Like
Yeah,
relying
yeah.
on Jacob Murphy for an insane season is not going to happen. I'm sorry to break it to you.
Also, why are they allergic to signing a midfielder who like to be on the ball and pass it around? Like, why every midfielder to be somebody who just want to run with the ball along? Every single one. Like, I thought Morgan Rogers would have been such a good signing for them, dog, because he would have carry and he has a good pass to him, dog. But I don't know why they're allergic to this guy. But anyways, right. So obviously you got Thiago coming from this game, and the last two is Everton versus Fulham. And I would like to put in Michael Keane, not just because he scored, but he
Yeah,
also played
boy.
very well.
Yeah.
And I must say, Fulham, we're concerning me a little bit. Like
Yeah,
I
very
needed
concerned.
I needed to pick up because
That was
my doggy
that was
was
you unsurprised team of the season, you know.
yeah, because it's surprisingly bad. You know, things for you are just not looking good right now. It's just not looking good. Let me just leave it to rest. And then the last game is West Ham pick up 2 wins in a row. Right, dog? So you know what? You see, like Wolves might be the 22nd best team in this league, but West Ham trying their best to rise above it, and you know they get 2 wins and two. However, guys, don't be that guy who brought in Charboy.
Oh, yeah.
I was that guy.
Yeah.
He was the only person not to get something, which is truly great. I was a big up Potts. I know he came off injured, but he's had 2 very good games back to back for them. And yeah, another academy product that seems to be doing well. Who would y'all like to put? Well, I guess it's really our next defender we supposed to put in here. I mean, we could go back three. Back three is always an option if y'all want to put somebody else. I'll put the
Suchek.
suggestions.
Suchek.
Suchek.
Yeah, I feel like maybe Suchek.
Okay, cool. So we're really going 5 in the middle then. No problem.
Hey, 2
One
weeks in a
game,
row, boy. 3 at the back. Let's go.
dog. The last time we had 4 back was a very long time ago. I can't even tell you the last time it had happened. But hey, big up them. Burnley, boy, this is one of those games that Burnley had to get at least a draw if they wanted to stay in the league. And I know that sounds super cliche and whatever, but like these teams are fighting to stay above, bro. And they getting 3 points off here. That is not good enough. So 2 close guys. In goal, we have Bruggen. In defense, we have Milinkovic, Keane, and Ballard. Wow, that feels Brexit, dog. Wow, that feels very, very Brexit. Then we have Doku and Embuemo playing out wide. Then we have a packed midfield of Gonzalez, Enzo, Suchek with Rogers at the tip of it with with Igor Thiago playing up top. That is your team of the week. And so we're gonna just quickly browse through results across Europe. Atletico 1-3-1. In the Syria, dog, hit a central pause. I tweet at one point. I was like, all these games, so many minutes, no goals, bro. Like, I don't know what's going on there. But the only game on Saturday that had goals was Parma that drew 2 with Milan. But I want to highlight real quickly, and it's a team we're gonna talk about more later on the line. Is Union Berlin drew 2-2 with Bayern Munich after Arsenal versus Bayern is in the next leg of the Champions League. And I thought it so funny that after they was being talked about both for the whole week about the unstoppable versus the unmovable object, both of them draw 2 this weekend. It was extremely funny. And they actually conceded twice to centre back. Even funnier. Real drew 0-0, but we'll come back to you, Dominic, when we reach the Champions League. And Barca won 4-2 with Lewandowski, of course, being the one to score a hat-trick. Who would have thought world-class players coming back would have made a difference? That's something funny. If only Rafinha could come back as well. Inter won, Roma run. Roma is very much within the title race as they are both level on points on the top of the Serie A. And big up Gasperini and what he's doing at Roma. And I think PSG won this weekend. Yeah, they won 3-2 against Lyon. They won in the last minute of the game, actually. And so with that, we're going to get into the Champions League. Now, Look, guys, the Champions League, all you know, most of the games that happen, there's 3 games we want to focus on real quickly. So we're going to get the Bayern, PSG one out of the way. And as I said just now, Bayern, guys, you have to be blind to not be super impressed with what they're doing. A few weeks now, me and Brandon have both been hinting that company needs to be getting more praise for the job that he has done at Bayern. And we will continue to bang that drum once again that he has them looking fantastic. Luis Diaz, in particular, has gone there and looked like he's going up another level as well, including getting a red card against PSG. But that first half was absolutely complete by them. And even when they went a man down, PSG passed the ball around a lot, but it didn't really look like they were scoring. And so on that game, I'm going to just leave the floor open for any takeaways that you all took from PSG 1, Bayern Munich 2. Anybody?
Well, yeah, doing that. I want to add, I'd be like, going into that game, you felt that we know the quality that PSG has, so we felt that it would be, a close game. But yeah, we have to give credit to Bayern Munich though, because for them to go there and do what they did to PSG, I felt that was a statement because everybody would say, for PSG might be able to replicate what they did last season and also, like reaching to the later stage of the competition. But Bayern looking like a threat. I feel like right now, if somebody's to say that Bayern seems like the favorites for the Champions League, you really can't fight them down, honestly, because the way that how company have them playing, the way Luis Diaz is, how he is playing, and Kane just amazing in this Bayern team. So, honestly, I really feel that I wouldn't want to say Bayern is favorites yet, but I feel like Bayern is up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wonder if PSG used all their powers last season because, Dembele is injured now, Mendes is injured now, Kimi is going to be missing for a while after that horrific tackle.
Do we have to missing? So,
yes, PSG, will use all the chakra or what went on? Because
Chelsea steal the chakra in the Club World Cup final, boy. That is what it is, boy.
So Bayern look good as I want to say as per usual. Maybe not as last season; they didn't look as good, but yeah, Bayern look good this season, and yeah, probably if you had to pick early favorites in Champions League, it might just be them.
Yeah. Brandon?
No, I don't have anything to add from things that we've said about Bayern already for the season. I mean, they just look way too good, bro.
Yeah. Cool. So the La Liga clubs now. So let's go on. So a bit extreme, right? But what we here for is to get it all out, right? And I think that Barca and Real have been benefiting from the status that they have set for a few years now. Stretch about to the Messi Ronaldo era to come into these Champions League games, and the standard is not up to what you expect from these clubs, truthfully. And I think that we look at this Liverpool side that we spend 39 minutes and 44 seconds berating, and Liverpool look very complete against them. And I think that says so much about where Real Madrid might be right now. And it's a Real Madrid side that 2 weeks ago we also praised because of how they dominated Barcelona in the Clasico. And so, Dominic, use the Real Madrid man here. And I don't think the standard of where Real should be is where it is right now. I think part of it is that we are starting to see what is really the next era of Real Madrid, right? The men who was there from the Messi Ronaldo era for both Barca and Real, they are basically gone. It's only Carvajal remaining now. If you kind of want to associate Quarter with that, I don't really, but only really Carvajal is still there. Modric is gone, Benzema is gone, Kroos is gone, Carvajal is barely fit. And I think we started to see that next crop is not yet of that level. It's showing to me when it is that I think so far the English teams and the Spanish teams have met up 8 times in the Champions League. And only Barca has the only win that a Spanish side has against an English opposition so far when they beat Newcastle at St. James's Park. So, Tamina, what do you think about where those two La Liga giants are right now?
I think for us, we still in transition. This is a new manager. This is a new structure. This is a new system, and I think with Alonso, we have to remember these guys, Vinicius, Rodrigo, all these guys who were there from before Alonso came in. They are accustomed to Carlo. Like Carlo has been their manager for the majority of their time with Real. And Carlo's style is laid back. Like he's one of the guys. He's not a stern coach by any means. He's a man manager. He will hug a player and be easy on him. Alonso, on the other hand, seems to be very strict from all accounts. So they're not used to this. They're not used to that demanding um sort of manager who needs 100% and that style that needs effort every single week. Because if one man effort off, then the press dead. And we see it happen to more than one team. If one or two men off and they're trying to press, the press is not going to work. So I mean, for us, still being in transition, yeah, we've lost. I think we lost 2 games this season, and I think the 2 games that we've lost are the issue, perhaps. Because it's big games, losing to Atletico and losing to Liverpool. But yeah, we still struggling a bit as well. I think to fit Mbappe and to find was really Mbappe best position in this team or best. I don't know, just the way that he fits in this team. And I saw Gary Neville on the podcast as well, and they mentioned like one of them was watching the game, and he's like, do these fellas actually like each other? And I have to say, I've been thinking about that too. Like sometimes I wonder, like Vinicius and Mbappe, yeah, you all post each other on Instagram or whatever, but you're really concerned about playing with each other because, like, to me, it's glaring sometimes the lack of passes or lack of cooperation between those two. Whereas like with Jude and Vinicius, they had a good season together when Jude came to Real. So I'm not worried about them. But I think there's that little bit of a power struggle in terms of, hey, whose team is this? Because Vinicius has been at Real for a minute. It's been what 5-6 years since he's been here, and he's had multiple
Two Champions League
very
winners.
days, two
Yeah.
Champions League, two seasons I think where he had 20 goals and 20 assists in those seasons, and then a
Yeah.
third season he could have potentially gotten 20 and 20 again if it was not for injuries. So he, in his mind, he's the man, but I think poster boy signing Kylian Mbappe, Perez obviously sees him as the man. I think Alonso's system wants him to be the man as well, but um, he's there playing as a striker, and he's not a traditional 9. And I think that is something that we are lacking. We don't have box presence. And sometimes when it's late on in the game or we're just looking for a goal, we are nobody to cross to. So it's like, what we doing? Because this your turn, my turn thing, it not gonna work between Vinicius and Mbappe. So they need to figure out something between themselves, and they need to figure out something positionally as well, where we can have
Yes.
somebody.
I think like you hit some topics there where that we've been trying to talk about more. Every time that we talk about Real when something doesn't go right, right? And I mean, we saw that at the moment that Mbappe was signed, that there was going to be an issue of who team this is really. And regardless of what you thought about both Mbappe and Vinicius before, when Mbappe was coming to a side that just won 2 Champions League in 3 years. So to talk objectively, they didn't need him. Like you could always need better players, but you didn't need him. They were up, they were attaining the objectives that they were aiming for. However, as we see the time go by, there has been this power struggle. And as you said, like you asked who it is team this really is. And I think that we are seeing that start to manifest on the field. And you also talk about the lack of box presence. But bro, I've been seeing the three hills that Mbappe doesn't want to play as a 9. We've always seen Mbappe's best periods really come playing over for somebody else. And so I think that the continued unbalanced building of this team has started to kind of come home to roost, as well as players that may be better off being high, like, what's the words I'm looking for? Because I don't want to. It's not to sound disrespectful, but I think players, they are very, very good players, and then there are players that are core to being like your all timers, your spine, and I think we are seeing players that are very much of that level to be very, very good players, but probably not the players that you want as a spine to a team. Because when you start to talk about things like ego and contribution and willing to work hard and stuff like that, you then have to start to question these players, and you won't question players that are world class. You won't question players that are all timers, And so with that, Brandon, what do you have to say? Obviously, Real drew the weekend, but we really more talking about the Liverpool game in midweek.
I mean, it's not much. I guess it's a question Dominic could answer when I finish. But I think that there's too much attacking talent in that team to go 2 games without scoring a goal. Like, and then two across the Real game and across the I can't remember which was Rio or something that they drew it over the weekend. Like, I think not being able to score in 2 consecutive games, that to me is a big concern, because it suggests to me that there is, and this is something I talked about with Liverpool as well. If your team is built to attack, I don't really care about what you're doing in the opposite direction. But when, for whatever reason it is, there have been too many times since Mbappe has gotten here that I think that the attack has not clicked. And I don't know whether it's because of his relationship with Vinicius, whether it was something that Carlo was doing last season, whether it's something that Alonso is not doing this season. So I'm not sure what else they could potentially do. I remember last year Daniel talked about leaning into the fact that they could both come off the left, but then the box presence becomes a problem, and no, there's nobody in the box. And I think that is a real problem for them. And I don't know. I don't want to be harsh on them, because, as Dominic said, that they're in a transition, period. I don't know if, as Real Madrid, they could really ever be in a transition period, to be honest. But they have too many good players, and too many players that everybody would like to get their hands on, I think, to be performing at such a underwhelming level. If that's the best way I can describe it here, because from the Barcelona game to now, I can't believe the difference in what I'm seeing from a lot of the players at Madrid.
And Dominic, before you just answer to him, I just want to say, like, I also think that when times are hard, you start to see where players' traits really lie. And so, like, when you see that Real Madrid aren't scoring, you start to see all these players lean into their natural tendencies. That is when you start to notice the lack of box presence. That is when you start to notice the lack of ball progression and stuff like that. Because when it's going fine and you're having a good day and things are coming off, those things don't come to the fore. But when you have games like the Atletico Madrid game, like the PSG game in the summer, like the Liverpool game this weekend going in, you start to notice how Mbappe doesn't want to go into the box. You start to notice how all the players either don't want to stand in the pockets, or want to stand outside the block, or don't want to sit deep and create. And you start to notice how the squad, while it has many players that will get into many teams because of what they've done at various points in their career, it doesn't feel like a group that is assembled to complement each other. Because we talking a lot about Vinicius and Mbappe here, right? That leaves out the man who is 28 games without a goal, who claims that left wing is his best position. That isn't even talking about the fact that you have Tchouameni, Camavinga, Jude, Fede, and Goulet all want to play in the midfield. Who really is the ones being prioritized? Who's complementing one another? And these questions then start to arise, right? And as Brandon said, you're Real Madrid. You might not really be allowed to have transition periods like that. But there's even a standard that's being asked the hell of you, even when it is that you aren't at your peak best. And I don't feel like that is where they are right now. And I mean, like, it sounds super harsh, right? But like 2 years ago, you still felt like there was some of that spine there that still contributed to it. Carvajal had one of his best campaigns ever when Madrid went on to win that Champions League. Cruz was a big part of that. Madrid was still coming off the bench and contributed. And so you had these pillars that these other men could play a role, right? And I'm not taking away from them. But now it's like the reliance is on them. And it doesn't feel like they are either equipped to do it, or they have the platform to do it, or whatever it is. But these players aren't stepping up in the way you would have hoped when certain players have left, you know? And now this question is arising because we are here 2 years later, and it doesn't feel like, despite the names, that Liverpool are in a place like, because the thing is, right, is Real Madrid. We're never gonna say they're not in the conversation for Champions League, but it doesn't feel like they are positioned to be the favorites in our Champions League. You know?
Yeah, no, we haven't actually been the actual favorites for the Champions League for a few years, and you all are right. This squad is not it's not built properly. Our squad planning has been bad, I would say, because we've just spent 10 or so years, give or take a year or two, playing with a deep lying playmaker in Tony Cruz, and we have not replaced him. There's one
And no
player in
efforts
our
to do it either. Yeah.
no effort, not whatsoever, none. And there's one player in our squad who can probably try his at his very best to be like that, and that is Danny Ceballos. And let me be real, Danny Ceballos is not getting into any team ahead of Camavinga, Chouameni, and the like. Yeah, and I think we've also suffered when Goulet has played deeper because that's not his position. He's not to be playing any double pivot. I think you watch the games where we have played badly this season is when he's been deeper. That's not his position. He needs to be the number 10. But that's where sort of the big name cachet and the ego comes into play because Bellingham had his best season of probably of his career as a false nine for us, right? So we kind of pigeonhole him into being somebody who has to play higher up the pitch. Now, if you want him and Goulet on the pitch at the same time, then that means Goulet has to be the one to drop deeper. And yeah, sure, he's 20 years old and he could probably learn to be a deep line playmaker. But I don't think you just throw him into the deep end like this to learn to be Tony Cruz when you have standards, as you all say, when you have standards out here too. I don't think you make a guy learn on the job like this. So, and then for me, the Mbappe and Vinicius thing was never going to work. I said it the minute that Mbappe rejected us and signed that extension
Yep.
at PSG. I said, you know what, maybe that might just be a good thing because Vinicius was blooming at that point, and perhaps I would say there was an argument that Vinicius was the best left winger in the world at one point during that little span where he went 20 goals, 20 assists in consecutive seasons. So for me, he had every right to want to be the
The
man on
man.
this.
Dominic,
And
that's a concept across the bro. But he went until Mbappe reached. He went 3 years running. Oh, right, that's scoring or assisting against every single team in the Champions League for Real Madrid. You know? Like, I know, like, we trivialize G and thing, but that's serious showing up for 3 years. You know? And I'm not justifying how he playing now, but I am saying, like, I think he was well within his rights to feel like he should have been prioritizing building Real Madrid going forward. You know?
I agree, and also, I mean, look at the number he's wearing. That's been the number worn by our best player,
Yeah.
Ronaldo and Raul.
Raul. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think he has every right to feel a little bit hard done, and I personally said that we just needed a nine. Look at how effective Joselu was for us. Joselu was
Yeah.
mad coming off the bench, being a
Dog
backup.
City, boy. Hey.
I mean,
Yeah.
I absolutely loved the way that team was constructed in terms of, so you're using a false nine with Jude, Rodrigo, and Vinicius as your starting front three, but then you have a target man coming off the bench, and that gives you something different because when you have the game where Vinicius, Jude, and Rodrigo struggle, at least you have a man who could throw on in the 75th minute and just dump the ball to him from the back, from anywhere on the pitch, just throw the ball up to Joselu. And that worked. We knocked out Bayern literally because of Joselu. So I mean, yeah, the squad planning hasn't been great, and um, I know you all say technically Real Madrid is not allowed to have a transition phase, and I somewhat agree with it. But I just think our fans need to be a little bit patient. Of course, we could call out shit performances because weekend gone was horrible, and it was even worse in the midweek against Liverpool. So I'm not saying we can't criticize at all, but we also need to remember this team young. This team like real young. Jude, we tend to forget how young these fellas is. Like Vinicius is 24. Rodrigo is the same age. Jude is younger than them. Goulet is 20. Mbappe is now 26 or 27, right? And
Yeah.
he's the statement of the
But I'm
team.
like, let me ask you this then, right? Like I have one friend, which is the Daniel person that Brandon mentioned earlier, right? He's very bent on that, like this could work, right? But I've long held the opinion that I don't think that Mbappe and Vinny could really coexist. And I don't think it's just a play style thing or complementary thing. I think it's an ego thing too, right? And like I hate the denial of egos in top players because they are. And those who think that they should be the best want to be the best. Vinny has outright said he wants to win the Ballon d'Or. And I've long said, bro, as long as Mbappe is in this team, they're gonna be fighting each other for Ballon d'Or that's gonna come out on the field, right? So
And
I do think
Jude
this thing is coming.
is up there too.
I do too, right? So I think this is coming to a head, and I do think in the summer at least one of them has to leave. You know, I think well, Rodrigo, now, I am extremely disappointed in the fact that he has not forced any move over since Mbappe has reached here now. But forget him. But I think one between Vinny and Mbappe, it has to go for Madrid to move forward. What do you think is going to come out of it?
Yeah, so I think the writing is on the wall, and I think the fact that every week now it is in the news, in the press that Vinicius's contract is not, his extension talks are not going well. To me, that's just writing on the wall and an inevitable departure in the summer. What I do hope is, if that was to happen, Alonso's squad makeup needs to perhaps pivot more towards what he had at Leverkusen. And that is these out and out wingers that we have in Vinicius and Rodrigo. I think they both could be gone in the summer. And we are going to bring back Nico Pass from Como. And I think we are going to see more of that style of player where we have those second strikers, guys capable of playing as maybe a false nine, but these attacking midfielders who could play off of a striker. They're not,
Big
Franco
club body face to Real Madrid, boy. Here we go.
Yeah, no, but so I think is gonna be quite possible to see both. Rodrigo, I think he's gone. I think if we get offer in January, he's gone out the door.
I'll be honest, Dominic. I actually don't think he's leaving, really, actually. And I think he's not leaving because he kind of showed to me, bro, he's willing to ride bench and stay at Real Madrid. And if that is why he's content with his career, then I mean, so be it. However, I've kept Virgil on the conversation for a little while now. So, Virg, I just want to ask you real quickly as we start a wrap up, right? Is there anything I want to say about Real? But more so Barca, because Barca also draw 3-0 with Bruges, had some controversy, which denied Bruges a winning goal. They continue to concede goals every single week. So if you have anything at all you really want to say about more Barca, but anything on Real you want to say, get out there.
I mean, to keep it simple with Barca, I feel like Barca's problem has been the same from last season. They will live and die on this hill that they need that high back line. And it's just making it easy for teams with pace. Once you have that one pacey outlet, you can get at Barcelona. And
any fella from Bruges was a forward City academy.
Forward academy, and that man is just pace. And we know from any team that goes up against them, once you can get in behind, that's all it takes. So honestly, I feel like the difference is for Barcelona. Is nothing really changed from Barcelona as of last season. It's the same problem they have. They continue to repeat, and they will try their best. They're trying their best to push until this works. So push on for this to work. But more on the Madrid side, I feel like from everything that you guys said, and from the outside look at it, Madrid is more. Ego is in the mix. And just like what Dominic mentioned, he mentioned how Ancelotti was before. We know how laid back Ancelotti is. Ancelotti is literally undoubtedly one of the best coaches in the world, so he has nothing really to prove. he can let the players go out and be free. Whereas to me, it seems like Alonso's there, and the reason why Alonso wants 100% is because he knows the first line of criticism is him. If anything has happened, it's straightly going to look at Alonso. Nobody going to look at Mbappe, Vinny, and all this. So you need to give him 100% to keep his name clean, or else you're out the door. And I have no problem with that. I feel like if they go that route where they fully back Alonso, in the long run, Madrid will be a much solid team. They will be so solid, and for years to come, they'll be able to utilize the young players, which Alonso is good at. Madrid could just rebuild and become a force. So, as we went for the whole conversation, it's good that we have a Madrid fan there, because for a lot of the questions that we have, my only main question too when it comes to Madrid is, you look at all the players, and it seemed like a lot of players in the Madrid team that, as I mentioned, I don't know if they don't like each other, and it also seems that I do if Alonso don't like them and just have to use these players by force, because the fact that during the week saw Brahim Diaz start, I don't know what it is he's saying to be like, okay, well, I'm going to keep Rodrigo on the bench and force Brahim Diaz to start. But to me, it's like the only person that this man really care about and actually like is Goulet. Everybody else, if you're not giving him 100%, he have no problem telling it to me.
Brandon, you have anything? Hold on, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Just one. I think he probably wants to hit himself in Goulet. So I think you're right on that sense. He seems to love Goulet. But yeah, the Rodrigo thing, it stems from over the summer and late last season. Mm-hmm. He apparently had some mental problems. Which is nothing to talk about. And so in his somewhat better from that, he went to Alonso at the beginning of the season when he came in, and he said, well, boss, my position is left wing, and I think I'm tired of playing on the right wing. Mind you, he's had all his success for us playing as a right winger. So I'm not, it just comes from just out of the blue a bit like that. But yeah.
Yeah, but no, I like that, Dominic. I have zero sympathy, because I feel like the writing been on the wall. Like, if you want to play left wing here, you had to go. Like, if you want to play left wing, you had to leave and go somewhere else and play left wing. Like, this to me is like when Sanchez had to leave Barca because Neymar was going to play left wing, and you had no choice, for he was never going to get to play on the left once Neymar there. So, like, I don't have sympathy, because there were enough clubs that signed men to play left wing this summer, and you could have been one of them. You just didn't move fast enough when men were signing men. Chelsea signed a left winger. Liverpool, you never know, because you are just complaining every week about Gakpo. Arsenal sign wingers, all these men sign wingers, bro. Like, you could have got them. However, I want to wrap it up there, because we're getting late. This got to end up being a 2-hour pod very, very shortly. Brandon, lastly, do you have anything you want to say before we close off?
No, not really. I still just laugh at people still worrying about the highline for Barcelona. And it's also the most interesting thing I've seen about the whole Barcelona thing, that despite Rashford being their best attacker, I've seen so many people say that.
Well. Yeah.
No, I've seen that everybody saying that how he's not made for the system, and I'm just like, I must be looking at this guy. I must be looking at this game real wrong, boy. So yeah, that's the only thing I have to say, really.
All right, guys. So we're gonna wrap it up there. Dominic, congrats on the Euro. Promise you guys this will not be the last time you'll see of him here. Thank you guys for your time. Given everything that Dominic said, or look out for next summer, Isak and Vinicius switching places. And we'll catch you guys next time. See you soon. Take it easy. Later.